9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's play ball. Okay, I'm done. No!
How was that for a good start? Thank you both. You kids, you make everybody's heart smile around here, let me just tell you. And we can't wait to hear from Mom Rachel later in our program. I'm Gayle Sierens Martin. I am a LifePath Hospice board member. I am a Camp Circle of Love volunteer. If you've never been to Camp Circle of Love, you're missing out. It's the most fun thing ever. It's an amazing experience, and volunteers are always loved and wanted. I'm a longtime friend of this mission, though, because it took care of my grandmother, my mother, and my stepfather. So I love hospice, and I will do anything Liz Anderson ever asked me to do. Welcome to the 5th annual Home Runs for Hospice. It is an exciting time for baseball. Fans cheer on their favorite teams here in the coming weeks. I'm so very grateful that you're here cheering on LifePath Hospice with us this morning. Whether you're here in person or if you're actually watching virtually, your presence truly is a testament to what hospice means to each and every one of you, and I'm sure so many of you have your own story. It means a lot to me too. As I told you, they took care of my grandmother, they took care of my mom, they took care of my stepfather, and just as important, they took care of me through all of it. They cared for me and my entire family. In my 38 years as a newscaster on NBC Channel 8, I shared countless stories. It was a great part of my job. Stories that made us smile, stories that challenged us to think differently, which hopefully we're all still doing, stories that often broke our hearts. My favorite stories, though, were the interviews with seemingly ordinary people who did extraordinary things. Stories about acts of kindness and of heroism in the face of life's challenges. Stories that inspired me to try a little harder as well. And as I look out here at all of you, I know that you all have stories too in your life. Stories of first love, first kiss, maybe the first hand you held. Stories of family, the promise of for better or for worse. Juggling children's schedules and sitting in the bleachers of the never-ending Little League games and ballet recitals. Stories of career wins and businesses built. Stories of fun movie nights and hilarious family reunions, and entwined in all of the joy are our stories of loss and heartache, our hardest goodbye, and the long journey of reviving and redefining hope. These are the stories that make up our lives. And LifePath Hospice patients have stories too, lots of stories, just like yours. But changed forever by illness, accidents, and the struggles that often follow. Thankfully, LifePath Hospice is there to help the loved ones count their days in moments shared, in memories made, in the miracle of a new day. And thankfully, the Circle of Love is here to teach grieving hearts that unexpected loss does not have to be the author of their story. LifePath Hospice reminds us that the life that they touch, that their story is worth telling. All of those stories are worth telling. So this morning, we are going to hear extraordinary stories from ordinary people. But let's first take a minute to thank our wonderful event sponsors, because you know without them, this room doesn't look like this morning. Please hold your applause till all of them have been recognized. Our World Series sponsor is Regions Bank. Our Grand Slam partner is PAR Inc. Our Major League sponsors, American Medical Response, Nancy Bailey Williamson, Besnard Insurance, Richard and Valerie Blau, BNY Mellon, Casper's Company, Construction Technology Group, Symmetry Healthcare Consulting, Vinson Law. Our in-kind sponsor is Diamond View, and all of the Triple Play sponsors, thank you. You are all so very important to us. All of you. Golly, I didn't realize how freckled I look on that big screen. Should take better care of my skin. And one last thank you to all the table captains. Thank you for all of the work that you do and how much you love. And for inviting all the people here, some of whom may never have been touched by the life of hospice, but you're going to be touched this morning, that much I can promise you. Okay, so now lean in close. I have something very important to tell you. Our hospice families are going to tell you their most heartfelt stories. They're going to share those with you. And as eager as they are to share their journey, you can also imagine that they might be a little nervous today, too. So please stay with us and keep cheering us on. Silence your phones, please. Close out your emails. Put aside any distractions you might have. I'm hoping that you're going to stay tuned with us and stay right here in the present. So right now, take a deep breath and be prepared to be inspired and encouraged.
Thanks, Gayle. Good morning. My name is Megan Winthrop, and I'm a member of the senior leadership team here at LifePath Hospice. It's my pleasure to be with you this morning. I am proud to work alongside our new executive director, Grace Jackson, who joined LifePath earlier this summer. We can't wait for you to meet her. Thanks, Grace. Service is the glue that connects a community. Strangers become friends, and friends become family. My family raised me to live a life of service, beginning with my grandfather. He was the definition of nobility. As a Navy pilot in World War II, he risked it all for the people he loved and for people he'd never met. My grandmother was the first woman principal for a grade school in New Jersey. While raising 6 children, she earned her doctorate degree from Columbia University in order to better serve her students. She was also a great listener, a collector of stories. She knew no matter your walk of life, people need to be heard, and everyone has a story to tell. Sadly, she recently passed from COVID and spent her final days under the care of hospice. I hope we can all be a little bit like her today, to open our hearts and to listen. Listen to the incredible stories of the people you've helped. Stories that will continue to be told by the families we serve with your continued support. Our mission, at its core, ensures that no one dies alone or in pain. Every day, 1,110 patients receive hospice care in the place they call home, wherever that may be. It's 1 patient per square mile of Hillsborough County. While basic patient care may be partially covered through Medicare or private insurance, we serve more than 6,000 hospice patients a year, and about 8% of them can't pay for their services, which could seem like a small, insignificant number, unless it's someone you love. Thankfully, because of your generous support, last year we were able to care for 442 patients without a payment source. A total of $2.4 million in charity care. Yes, that deserves an applause. This means 442 patients ended their stories with dignity, surrounded by the love of their families and our caregivers, many of whom are here today. Caregivers that care for patient after patient, who enter unsterile houses and apartments so loved ones can be together in those final moments. Months, weeks, and days. We go wherever we are called, to nursing homes and to the streets, to homes on Bayshore and homes without floors. You see, our work cannot be done by telehealth. Caring for the dying and those who have survived their greatest loss is work that requires holding hands and wiping tears, pandemic or not. And because of you, end of life is not the end of our mission. Compassionate grief support is available to surviving family members free of charge. When a mom becomes a widow, a single parent, and a sole provider, we provide year-round grief care for her children. When a guidance counselor calls us because students have lost loved ones to COVID, we go into the schools. When a company emails us that an employee has died in a car accident, we go into the workplace. We have witnessed the stories of 3,100 individuals brave enough to confront their grief. We have also witnessed your generosity in action, helping to cover $750,000 required to operate our Circle of Love Grief Center here in Hillsborough County. The center's sole purpose is to help broken hearts heal through grief counseling. That's above and beyond our $2.4 million we spend on charity care. So let me tell you about one of our most beloved patients, Mr. McCrae. Mr. McCrae grew up in Tampa and worked in the culinary industry in places you've likely been: Carrabba's, Outback, Hotel Don Vincente. Fiercely self-reliant, he prided himself on caring for himself and his family, but reoccurring cranial cancer slowly robbed him of his health and independence, and eventually affected his sight and hearing. Tumors took away his ability to work, and he could no longer pay his mortgage. In early 2020, Mr. McCrae moved into a storage locker. By November, he put aside his pride and walked into our Temple Terrace office and asked us for help. Soon the hospice house became a place of respite. He found comfort and care on Thanksgiving Day and Christmas and New Year's, and on his birthday, the staff threw him a party with his favorite barbecue dinner. 64 nights of peace and a roof over his head, a clean bed to lay down his weary body, and listening ears to soothe his soul, and that was all free of charge because of you. Our nurses and home health aides not only treated Mr. McCrae's pain, but mended his heart. He has a hard time speaking these days, but he writes messages on a portable whiteboard. When we asked Mr. McCrae how LifePath Hospice has helped him, he simply wrote, "My spirit." Sorry. And Mr. McCrae is still writing his story. Today, we are caring for him at a local boarding house. He spends time with his 21-year-old daughter, Asia, when she's not working at a local bakery. And when the time comes for Asia to say her hardest goodbye to the one she loves most, LifePath Hospice will be here. We will be here with one-on-one counseling and group support, and we will be here when she begins new chapters of her life without her dad. And there are so many other Mr. McCrae's and Asia's out there that need our help. We are seeing more and more patients who have lost their jobs, their homes, and their access to medical care. We are seeing more families stretched thin, caring for aging parents and children in an economy upended by this horrific pandemic. Patients are coming to us sicker and less financially whole than ever before. The stress, as you can imagine, can be unbearable, and LifePath Hospice shows up. Each day we walk beside hundreds of husbands, wives, moms, dads, brothers, sisters, children, and friends who have no way to pay for hospice care or grief support. For every group of children you see in a Little League field or at a high school pep rally, 1 in 12 will lose someone they love before they graduate high school. For Hillsborough County, that's 38,000 children, enough to fill Steinbrenner Field more than 3 times. And this is why we need you, and we're so glad you're here today. Your generous support helps ensure we're ready to go anywhere and anytime we are needed. But there's so much more help needed. A funding gap of over $3 million in charity care and grief support remains. And frankly, we need your help to fill it, to provide charitable care for patients without funds, to help broken hearts through grief support year in and year out. Our community needs us now more than ever, and we need you more than ever. When we asked Mr. McCrae if he had a wish, he didn't skip a beat. He spoke in a broken voice and said, "I hope you have enough resources to care for the next guy like me." Mr. McCrae's kind heart is obviously forever embedded into my story, and I hope he's now in yours too. Thank you.
So I was told to make a mask. On the outside, what I show the world, and on the inside, how I really feel. So on the outside, I did feathers and glitter glue and happy colors and a flower. And on the inside, I put darker colors. I've got the flowers drooping. But then I have this one little piece of purple to show that not everything inside is bad. It's just harder to show.
My name is Aiden. My favorite thing about my dad was basically he loved to play football with me, he loved to go fishing with me, and he just loved to do anything with me.
Hi, my name is Abigail. My dad, he was funny, he liked to joke a lot. He was kind to everyone he met. He wanted to make new friends with everyone.
My name is Jade Stafford. My dad was one of a kind, really. He would draw you in the second he walked into a room. He was outgoing and caring and loving, and he would give this shirt off his back to somebody. Yeah. I was home on my couch. It was 4th of July, and I was trying to get into contact with him to take him to the movies. My mom looked over at me, and I knew something was wrong. So I asked 2 questions. I said, is Zion getting in trouble, or did something happen to Daddy? And then she told me.
I was at school and I got picked up early. My grandma was like, your dad had to go to the hospital. And I was like, what happened? My dad fell and hit his head while he was working.
I was in Florida. He lives in Texas. Just a normal day until my mom pulled me upstairs to tell me. He got into a car crash and crashed into a median.
I remember he passed right before school started, 10th grade year. So I tried going back to school. It really wasn't working for me. I just stopped going. I just dropped out. And then I spent most of the time in my room. For a good 6 to 8 months, I was just in my room.
I get sad when I usually do the things that me and my dad used to do, like go fishing, play football, or just do anything, really.
Every Christmas, we would make his special cookies. We would make Reese's cookies, and he'd hand them out to everyone at work. I've been getting into cooking and baking, and I've been sad that I couldn't share the things I make with him.
I get sad when I see sometimes other families. It's all over the place, and so it kind of reminds me that I don't really have that anymore. So I had to be able to grieve and learn how to grieve healthfully, and then be able to pursue life.
The circle of love helps me on how my feelings are controlled by me, and we do a lot of activities there just to help my feelings out.
I feel like it allows him to open up, whereas he doesn't always want to talk about it. It's obviously a sad, sensitive subject, but that's helped him a lot, I think.
When I was little, my mom passed away, and I just knew how hard it was going to be for her. So I knew that I needed to find something to help her. I feel so blessed to have found Circle of Love, being able to talk to the grief specialist and just saying something, and she said, that's perfectly normal. And it was just like such a relief to hear that.
Circle of Love helps because it makes me feel better to know that there are other people who feel the same way. I've learned that even if it's hard, I have to push through because it would be what he would want me to do.
Having people that don't know you come out of their time, put money into your life just because they want to help me. I'm sorry. It feels like it helps a lot that people care about me. I'm sorry.
This is my dad's helmet that he used to work. My dad wrote inside of this is basically Aiden, strength, courage, and he wrote a cross above the A of courage. I really think when I see this that my dad he really loved me, and Yeah, it really does make me feel good to hold this helmet.
This is a tango. It's a little fidget toy that you can just move around in your hands. And my dad really liked these. So he used to hand them out, and he would always give them all away. He never had any left. And on this tango, it says, "Be excellent to each other." I hold this tango and I think of him. I think of how he used to treat everyone with kindness. I just want everyone to know what a great person he was.
I'm not gonna say it gets easier to somebody that lost a parent, but there's a way it can get better. There's gonna be good days and bad days, and doesn't mean you're moving on when you have a good day, and doesn't mean you're never gonna get past it when you have a bad day. It just take every day like one step at a time, and everything's gonna be okay.
People may leave us, but
What stays is how they changed us.
I promise to continue to tell your story.
Their story becomes our story.
Your story continues in me forever.
Hello, my name is Jade Stafford, and thank you for letting me share my dad's story. I'm able to stand here today because my dad taught me to be brave. He gave me my confidence to take the road less traveled, so thank you, Daddy. My parents, Helen and Wendell Stafford, weren't well off in a traditional sense, but if love was wealth, they were rich. The story of who I am starts today with the act of love from my brother Zion and me. We were adopted by the Staffords from the foster care system when we were both toddlers. Through their endless patience and love, we were able to thrive during childhood. We learned about determination and resilience. Little did we know we'd have to rely on those skills sooner than we'd ever imagined. As I shared in the video, my dad died when I was just 15 years old. His passing rocked our family to the core. My mother loved us enough for two parents, but my heart was broken and I was lost without him. My grades dropped, as did my spirit. Still reeling in from his passing, tragedy struck again just 18 months later. My mother was diagnosed with glioblastoma. Her cancer robbed her of her job she loved and eventually the ability to take care of herself. While she was recovering from her brain surgery to remove the tumor, our home was foreclosed on. It was the last tangible piece of my parents we had. My mom needed round-the-clock care and moved with a family friend, and they didn't have a room for us. Suddenly, my brother and I were alone. We surrendered our two beloved dogs, placed our belongings into storage, and couch surfed from friends' houses. We were homeless. When I wasn't in class, I worked a part-time job at Dairy Queen and visited my mom when I could. Homeless, broken, without direction, I felt hopeless. Then to make matters worse, COVID hit. At 17 years old, my mom continued to decline. I knew we both reached an important chapter in our story, so I had to face a choice. She could move into a nursing home and receive around-the-clock care, but no one could visit, including Zion and I, or I could move in with my mom at her friend's house and become her full-time caretaker. It was an easy decision. I quit my job and said goodbye to the things a teen loves to do and became her full-time caretaker. I learned to change her, to feed her, to bathe her. Each morning we awoke in the same room, and after getting her comfortable, I would take high school classes. Between studying and caregiving, all my days grew together. In time, I've forgotten how to rest. Moms and colleges suggested we call LifePath Hospice. When they showed up, they changed our life. I met nurses, doctors, home health aides, and social workers who loved my mom as much as I did. They provided the extra care we needed to keep her at home, safe from COVID exposure at nursing homes. Our home health aide, Tanja, was more than just a helping hand. She began to feel like family. She never left before she made my mom smile with a joke or funny story, and she really listened to me. With hospice helping, I was able to devote more time and energy into my education. My GPA climbed from a 1.5 to a 3.5, and I learned to place on principal's honor roll. I found time to sleep in on Wednesdays and have daily coffee dates with my mom and watch The Price is Right. With hospice by our side, I was her daughter again. I was young again. My mom died peacefully under LifePath Hospice in January of this year. In her bed, at a friend's home, with Zion and I by her side. We were the last faces she saw. One of her last wishes was for her to have a silver cross to remember her by. And LifePath Hospice granted me that wish, and I'm wearing that cross today as a constant reminder of her faith, her love, and her hope. I wore it when I graduated from high school, and I'll be wearing it when I graduate from college, and all the other things she can't be here for. It will be with me, and she will be with me for every milestone in my life. Thanks to your support, I can write a long, loving, painless, dignified end to my mom's story. And you are providing me with free grief counseling that is helping me heal through this heartbreaking chapter of my life. Your presence here today is a great reminder that my story counts too. So thank you for listening.
Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is ask for help. Hi, my name is Rachel Carter. I'm a mother of two, a nurse at Tampa General Hospital, and like many of you, a survivor of loss. My husband, Shane Christopher Carter, died by suicide on April 20th, 2020. He was just 37 years old. We met in high school and got to know each other as crewmates at Outback Steakhouse. I knew he was the one when our first day started at lunch and lasted through dinner. He was someone I could be myself with. As I was finishing high school, Shane enlisted in the Army as a combat medic. Still in basic training on 9/11, his oath to serve our country took on a new weight and severity. His unit was one of the first to deploy. While I was studying to be a nurse, he was saving lives on the front line. He loved his work, and I was proud of his servant's heart. After his last deployment, we had a beautiful beach wedding. It was an oasis in the literal and figurative desert he'd been in for years. While pregnant with our daughter Aurelia, PTSD cast its first shadow on our lives. The battlefield changed my gentle giant in ways neither one of us could understand. For us, the weapons against PTSD came in the form of love and patience, and we won. Triumphant, we started a new chapter of our lives with the birth of our joy-filled son, Draken. Shane embraced fatherhood with every fiber of his being. He became a doting father, a loving husband, and a dedicated firefighter. We were partners in parenting and in life. We worked alternating nights and weekends just so one of us was always there for our kids. When PTSD returned with a vengeance, I watched all we had built together begin to unravel. We sought treatment to little avail, long waits for evaluation, endless red tape, and limited treatment options. Eventually assigned to video therapy at the VA, Shane made it to just one appointment before taking his life. My heart was broken. Our family was broken. Suddenly, without warning, facing life without their dad left our children feeling lost and confused. Aurelia and Draken sifted through his things, listened to his music, and asked questions. We worked together to find balance between grieving and living. I knew I had to seek therapy, grief support, anything I could find to help my children make sense of our loss. My frantic searches seemed futile during a pandemic. It was daunting and overwhelming. Until my call to LifePath Circle of Love was answered. At Circle of Love, we found a place to process our grief, away from judgment and away from questions. Through our work at Circle of Love, Aurelia and Draken began to feel seen and accepted. Grief has a language all its own, and there's peace in speaking it with people that understand. We have all started to heal, individually and as a family. Determined to continue to tell Shane's story, I enlisted the help of close friends and Shane's Army buddies to design a challenge coin similar to the ones given to soldiers to commemorate milestones. Shane's coin is heavy with symbols of his life, conflicts he served in, favorite bands, things that were meaningful to him. I share the coins with loved ones and his brother-in-arms as a reminder of the man that he was. Our time at Circle of Love helped me learn to channel my grief into action, to not only help my children or myself to deal with loss, but others as well. We lost Shane's life to PTSD, but not his light, not his courage, not his story. A story of service cut short by invisible wounds. We all need help at some point in our lives. Finding it can be difficult. Asking for it can be even harder. LifePath makes it easy. With the help of caring people like you, all that families like mine have to do is ask. Thank you for making sure someone is always ready to answer that call.
Thank you, Rachel. Very compelling. If you haven't noticed, there's tissue boxes on each of your tables for you to utilize. You all gave the ultimate sacrifice, and we are very grateful. And Jade, I can't wait to see what your future holds. It'll be bright for sure. Hello, I'm Bob Canigliaro, Vice President of Community Relations for Casper's company, McDonald's Restaurants. In my 47 years of living this great McLife, I've had the opportunity to play many roles. Coworker, boss, mentor, husband, father, volunteer, board member, bathroom cleaner, burger flipper, keynote speaker, and happiness generator. But one of the most meaningful and most significant was the role of a son. My dad was the best of the best, a part of the greatest generation fighting in World War II. He was a decorated soldier, Sergeant Lucky, and my hero. I'm wearing a piece of my dad right here. And when the final chapter of my father's story drew near, we called LifePath Hospice. They understood their call to duty. They were calm, loving, empathetic angels sent from God. They helped us understand what we would see and experience and properly prepared us for our time to grieve. My gratitude for LifePath Hospice is why I am standing before you today, asking you to consider an investment in the lives of World War II heroes like Sergeant Lucky, brave moms like Jade's, young families like Rachel, Aurelia, and Dracon, children like Abigail and Aiden, and dads like Mr. McCrae. And every one of the 6,000 patients and 3,100 grieving hearts LifePath Hospice will care for this year has a unique story that counts, and that story can only be enriched with your help. And because of the generosity of our sponsors, they've generously covered the cost of breakfast expenses this morning. So that means 100% of your gift today will go straight to the mission. When we looked at what we wanted to ask you for, we decided to request what we need most: financial support for our day-to-day operations. There is no end to our financial needs because there is no end to those in need of care. So we hope you will consider becoming a LifePath sustainer. Sustainers pledge their support for 5 years, allowing us to provide much needed support year after year after year. We have some sustainers in the room today wearing a purple ribbon on the name tag. Sustainers, will you please stand so we can say thank you? You are helping patients and grieving hearts tell their story in their own words. In words on a whiteboard when cancer has taken your voice. In cleansing tears at grief therapy. In smiles at Camp Circle of Love. Thank you. I have a very exciting announcement to make this morning. To encourage you, a group of our friends have come together to match dollar for dollar. I get so excited when I say this. Every new society pledge up to $102,000. Now that's inspiration. That's some pretty good friends we've got here. I want to thank who made it happen. Thank you to Ann Allen, Kathy and Bob Smith, Weiser Family Foundation Fund, Rick Baldwin, Adam and Mindy Besnard, Ann and Mike Carney, Trish Dunton, Jane and Jerry Ford, Carl Johnson, Jennifer and Stuart Nelson, Michael and Gayle Nursery, Harvey Petty and Jeff Avery, Betty Plott, Christine and Adam Schwartz and family, Barbara Zender, Elizabeth Kristen, Laura Sherman, Mitchell Rushing Family Foundation, Patty Chirac, Kathy McLone, Andrew McLausky, and family. So if you choose to join us as a new sustainer today, your gift will be doubled this morning. If you are a current sustainer, we ask you to consider adding a year or more to your existing pledge, increasing your giving level, or making an additional one-time gift. Your extensions and increases will also be matched dollar for dollar up to that $202,000, thanks to the generosity of our match supporters. Now I'd like to ask the table captains to please pass out the pledge cards. Or if you're watching virtually, please click on the link in the chat box right there. All right, let me walk you through this. Starting at the top of the form, we have the Sustainer Society. These gifts will go toward the greatest and most urgent needs. The first level, which we call Benefactor, is a pledge of $1,000 a year for 5 years. That's just $83 a month. On a daily basis, that is less than the price of a latte over the course of a month. 2 lattes if you go to McDonald's. I'm just saying. But for that same $1,000, you can help 5 grieving children like Abigail, Aiden, and Jade receive free counseling. If you can give at this level, please check that box. A gift at the advocate level is a pledge of $5,000 each year for 5 years. This helps support 10 patients in a hospice house for those without funding. Loved ones like Mr. McCrae. You can make his wish of having enough resources to help the next guy like him come true. Please check this box if you'd like to give at the advocate level. Some of you may be in a position to give even more. We ask you to consider a gift of $10,000 each year for 5 years. We call this the Sustainer level. You witnessed them all stand up just a few moments ago. This amazing gift can help support 66 patient days for anyone without resources to pay for hospice care. If you can make a gift at this level, please check that box. Remember, all new Sustainer gifts will be matched dollar for dollar up to $102,000. If you are a current member of the Sustainer Society, there's a special section on the pledge form where you may increase the amount of your existing pledge or extend the duration of your current pledge by a year or more. You could also choose to make an additional one-time gift. Remember, gift extensions and/or the gift increases will also be matched up to the $102,000 mark. If you've just become a sustainer, extended or increased your current sustainer pledge, I thank you. Now, we know and respect that many of you may want to give at a different level. The next line on the pledge card is just for you. Please let us know how much you'd like to give and for how long. Please know that every gift makes a difference in someone's story. I'll give you a few minutes to complete your pledge form now. I know many of you are still writing, but if I could have your attention for just a moment, and it's important for you to hear what I'm about to say. Whatever gift you may choose to make today, we sincerely thank each and every one of you on behalf of the patients, families, and children that we serve. Every gift makes a difference in the life of a spouse, a child, a mom, a dad, a sibling, and a son, as they face one of the most difficult times in their life. I'll give you a moment to finish making your gift or pledge. When you're done, please place your pledge form in your private envelope and pass them back to your table captain. We'll give you a few minutes for that to happen. Now, I'm going to turn it back over to, for the past 4 decades, America's sweetheart, Gayle Sierens.
4 decades, that would mean I'd have to be 40. Hold on here. Bob, thanks. Not only do you a great job, you're just so fun to have around. And thank you, everyone, for being with us here this morning. You know, I hope that these stories that you've heard today will become a part of your heart and pretty much a part of your story, too. These testimonials that we have heard today, they remind us that our own stories are unfolding around us each and every single day. Yes, you do have a story of your own, so don't keep it inside of you. Tell your children about your first love. Tell your friends what you love most about your parents. Tell your grandchildren about your grandparents. And at the dinner table tonight, tell the story of the life-giving, hope-inspiring work of LifePath Hospice. And remember, people may leave us. What stays is how they change us. Their story becomes our story forever. Thank you so much for being here. God bless you all and have a great day, everybody.